Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson, and we are going to find your test score. So, I got a couple things planned for you. First, let's take a look at a question about finding the test scores. So, Karen had a math test that consisted of 26 questions. If she answered 17 of the questions correctly, what would be her grade on this test if each question had the same point value? So the first thing I'm going to walk you through is using our calculator. So when I get my calculator out, there's a formula I type in it. It is the number correct divided by the total number of questions, and I multiply that by 100, and I get my grade. So let's get the calculator. So the number she had correct was 17. I'm going to divide that by the total number of questions. Total number of questions was 26. And I just multiply that by 100, and I'll get my grade. And it comes out to roughly 65.3. So let's bring that out. And we round that off to her grade I would give her would be a 65. So that's how you would do it with a calculator. Remember, it's just the number of questions you have correct over the total number of questions times 100. And that would give her the percent grade, 65%, when we round it off. Remember, if it's uh, 5 or above, we would shove up this by 1. If it's 4 below, we leave it alone. So here's a question for you to try. Jose had a math test, and it consisted of 17 questions. If he answered 12 of the questions correctly, what would his grade be on the test if each question had the same value? I want to now go over to something different, some software that I use called Microsoft Excel. And Microsoft Excel is a program, the spreadsheet program that does pretty much like a paper calculator. So you can type on your information and it'll do some calculations for you. So let's take a look at what we have in our column headings here. I'm going to do that first question we did with Karen getting the 65 grade, and I'm going to show you how we do it on spreadsheet. So the number of correct we would put here, the total number of questions here. COP, or constant of proportionality, that's the number of points per question. We would get her test grade and her score rounded off. So I would put in here the total number of questions that were correct. But in order to calculate my COP, or how much each question was worth, I need to put an equal sign here and take the 100 that you saw in the formula, and I'm going to divide it by the total number of questions. Because if you get all the questions right, you're going to get 100. And if you take 100 and divide it by the amount of questions there are, you'll be able to see whatever grade, whatever each question is worth. So there's a little formula that's going to be there. So we're going to make the spreadsheet do the work for us. What else do we need? Test grade. As we saw in our formula, what the test grade is equal to, it's equal to the number correct, which is this cell, divided by the total number of questions, which is that cell, and we're going to multiply it by 100. So times 100. And that formula will be there. And when we see that, we're going to round it off. So I'll show you how we round it off in a second. So let's go back to Karen. She got, I believe it was 17 questions, right? And notice nothing happened so far to this. So we have our question here. So let's, okay, so I have my test grade is going to be equal to the number of correct, which is this cell, divided by the total number of questions, which is this cell, times 100. So that's our formula, and that'll give us our grade. So the total number of questions on the test was 26. Oops. Let me put 26 right here. 26. Sorry. Try that one more time. First press enter. So I got my formula. Type in 26 questions. And there's the 65.38, which rounds off to 65. But I want you to notice that the points per question, or constant of proportionality, how much one question was worth, 3.8461538, and so on. So that's how much one question is worth. So the score is going to be equal to the test grade column, but rounded off. So let me just put the test grade in there, and you round off by going up here and moving your decimal point to the right. Notice it rounds off, and we want no decimal points to get the grade, and it comes out to 65. So it rounds off to the nearest whole number for us. So that way we can tell what our grade is, or the score is for that exam. So we can play around with this. So suppose the person got, say, 8 questions right. If we press that, notice how the change in test grade and score is going to be, because 8 questions is not that many questions out of 26. And you see the test grade changed and the score changed to 31. So the test grade is 30.7. So that rounds off to a 31. But did you notice that the constant of proportionality, or the number of points on this test, did not change? So it's still going to be worth 3.8 points per question. So the constant of proportionality points for each of the 26 questions remains the same. So that won't change unless we change the total number of questions. So this is very useful when you have a test. So if we had 0 correct, of course you would get a 0. And suppose I want to change the number of questions. Suppose there were 12 questions. And notice the constant of proportionality changes. Out of the 12 questions, each question is worth 8.33, or 8 1/3 points. The test grade would be 0 because they got none right, and the score would be 0. So this is a nice program. It does help out a lot when it comes down to calculating test grades. And I'm going to put back 17 questions right out of 26 questions altogether. And there is the score, 65. Each question was worth 3.84 and all of that. So the 65 is what Karen got on her test. So I hope you enjoyed using the Excel spreadsheet. It's a very good program. I really like it, and I hope this video has done you well. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. My channel name is Dan Robinson, PKMS. If you would type that in, you can find me. Dan Robinson, Peekskill Middle School, or PKMS Math Prep. You can find one of our videos there. Our latest release was PKMS Math Prep 18. We're working on 19 as we speak. So hopefully you look out for it. Tweet us, subscribe to our channel. You can tweet me at drobmath1. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and got something out of it and learned how to calculate your test score. Bye-bye.